Welcome back to Auction Spy. Thanks for coming back to my channel. Today we are going to appraise or spy on a couple of properties that will be in auction in the coming days. Now, the whole point of Auction Spy is that I review some properties that will be going to auction. We appraise them for different strategies, and then we wait and see how much those properties sell for during the auction. And then subsequent to that, we'll work out what kind of strategy the person who purchased would have possibly been thinking about when they've bid on the property. So today, I want us to look at these two properties. So Flat D 153 Coombe Road, Croydon, and 204 to 206 Cable Street. Quite a few things interesting in these two. So let's start with the first one. Okay, so this one's quite interesting because the price is fairly low for that part of Croydon. Now, there must be a reason for it. I know it's auction, and the impression is that everything is cheap in auction, but that's not always the case. So let's look at the pictures and see what we can spy. Let's see. Okay, so stairs leading, so it's not ground floor. Ooh, okay. So it's in the loft. Okay, that explains some of the reasons why it's 140, or the guide price is 140. Okay, so these slopes, from my experience, purchasers don't tend to like that very much. So maybe that's one of the reasons why. Okay, so you've got the roof, the skylights. Okay, so those are things you'd have to look out for to make sure there's no draft coming in. Needless to say, you must go viewing, see the property for yourself, or get a trusted person to do that for you. So the bathroom looks okay. You probably would still need to do some tidying up, some cleanup if you want to sell it afterwards. At this price, 140, if you get it for 140, it will rent quite well as well. So, okay, there's a garden. I wonder if you have a share of the garden. It doesn't say. All right, let's see. This website is EIG Property Auctions, by the way, if you're interested in finding out. I have no affiliation with them. I just use it as a normal client. Let's see. Let's look at the legal documents. So they're not showing us the catalog so much. All right. Okay. Additional document lease. Let's look at the special conditions quickly. Let's see if anything stands out. Okay, so deposit 10%. That's fairly standard. So the moment your offer or your bid is accepted, you're expected to exchange with 10% of the purchase price, which is fine. 125-year lease from 2014, which is fine as well. It's all looking good. Interest rate 4%. Okay. Okay, it's all looking okay. Amendments to general conditions. If you are thinking of going for this property, please make sure you read this properly. I'm just skimming through it to see if anything jumps out. Completion date, does it say 28 days anywhere? Excluded fixtures and fittings. That's fine. In addition to the price paid, the solicitors sum of £75 for the transfer. Okay. Okay, you reimburse that. It says if you fail to complete on the day that you're supposed to complete. I can't find. Right, I can't see anything to suggest that the completion wouldn't be 28 days from the day of exchange. Buyer shall not be entitled to refuse to complete or delay completion in connection with any missing keys. Okay. So I suppose if you go to complete and you can't get in, you're still required to complete on the day of completion, and then you can deal with anything afterwards. Okay. All right. So there's nothing that jumps out at me here. Let's look at the EPC. Always use a solicitor to review the legal pack. All of this stuff will form part of the legal pack. So we're going to read the lease. I want to look at the EPC just to look at the size of the building. 41. So 41 square meters. And we don't know how much of it is below head height. So these are things you need to think about if you decide to go for this. But let's appraise it, assuming 41 square meters and all the same height all over the flat. But bear in mind that the sloped roof will affect its desirability. Okay, so postcode is CR05SQ. Let's go here. CR05SQ. Just logging in now. Add a new appraisal. CR05SQ, right? Yeah. That's it. Flat D153. There you go. Okay. Okay, because I'm not calling the agent. 140. Property type is a flat. Auction. Okay. Submit for appraisal. Right, so we've got a few options here. Let's do the buy-to-let, which I generally tend to do. Oh, how many bedrooms? That's a good point. There's my EPC. I suspect it's a one-bedroom. I'll be amazed if it's anything more than one bedroom. It's a fairly small flat. It's below the space standards for one bed, two occupant. So let's do one bed. So there's one bed. Cash flow, let's say £500 a month cash flow. So that's positive cash flow. We'll do a quick appraisal. Right. Okay. So we've got a range of rental figures for that area. So the rentals would go between $823 at the minimum and $1,200. Now I'd imagine this flat isn't at the upper end, which is $1,200, which is why this is green. If it'll be closer to the average rent. So let's pick the average rent one. Click there. Okay. But interestingly enough, it thinks that the estimated open market value will be $245,000, and that's calculated based on the space and the price per square foot. So that's quite interesting. So the reason this is red is because I want a cash flow of £500. So that's £500 after all costs. The purchase here, 25% deposit, 5% for stamp duty and legals, a light refurb. So if we boost this up to, let's say, 7%, because we have to pay all these other fees, refurb will probably be more than, probably about at least 5%, just to tidy it up. Okay, so now that means we're putting in 37,000. Okay, monthly rent $940, mortgage is that. Then when you factor in 10% management fee and 5% maintenance fee, and voids. The total you're putting in is 440. That's right. Okay. Okay, so after all that is said and done, £100,000 is what it's worth. If you decide to pay the asking price, then your cash flow comes down to £400. Not the end of the world, but it's okay. I think this one's a good one, depending on your strategy. I think it'll be difficult to sell if you're doing a flip. Even though the estimated market value is 245, it's not the best of flats. So that's something to think about. But if you apply the discount to that 245, say 200, maybe 210, I think 200, you should be able to find a buyer. So 200 for a few months worth of work, that's not bad. So my opinion, at 140,000, if it sells for 140,000, it's okay. If you decide to do a flip, which means your target estimated value will be £200,000 minus 140, then you've got all your purchase costs and everything, then you might be very, very tight. Okay, so that's what to think. What things you should factor in for this property. So it's not the end of the world. There is opportunity to make a profit at 140. You know you can rent it out, provided you can get finance at below 4%, which I think you should be able to. Bearing in mind the base rate is 0.1%. You may be required to put in a bit more of a deposit. Let's say 30%, which means £58,000 all in, and then your cash flow changes to about 425 per month. Yes, because you're putting in more of a deposit, and your yield will be 8%, return on investment 8%. So that's what you have to play with. Also think about how long it will take to sell. In this climate, people are not doing viewings, you can't rent it out quickly, but presumably the lockdown should be over in a few weeks' time. You have 4 weeks to complete from when you complete your purchase, from when you exchange, day of the auction, 4 weeks to complete, and some time after that to do your works and to improve the building, and then finding a tenant. So you're looking at maybe 3-4 months away. If at that point you're prepared to sell at 200 grand, then that could work. What we could also do is, okay, let's save this. We could look at okay, let me use the conversion strategy. Ooh, probably wouldn't give me what I want, but let me do that anyway. Okay, fine. Let me just do the advanced. Flat, okay, 40 square meters, project duration, let's say 4 months. There'll be no sale, build cost, it should be less than that. Let's do that 500 per square meter. Incidentally, you can just click this to get the average build cost for that postcode. But because this is just a quick tighten up, I should be okay. So we go to the scheme, we'll add a flat apartment, 1 bedroom, size in square meters, 40, number of units 1. This is particularly good if you're doing many flats and many types of units, and you can just keep adding different rows. So 20 grand to do your works, yeah. Unit price, you can click on here to get the average price for that area. There's a lot of useful information here. So you've got an average price of 314,000 for the whole area. So for this flat, let's use the sold price to tell us the average is. Okay, so average for 40 square meters is 189,000. The maximum is 294. If we look at what the sale prices are saying, 220. That's interesting. So sale prices are quite high compared to sold prices. Bearing in mind that this is a few weeks into COVID-19. That's interesting. But let's go with the average. So average, it says your offer price should be 90 grand. Right. Why is it saying 90 grand? Okay, it's 90 grand because it's factored in your build cost of £500. The residential price is that. Total bill cost 20 grand, contingency of £1,000, professional fees, the finance, disposal cost, your developer's profit of 56,000, total cost 85,000 including profit, and amount available for site purchase. So that works out to £90,000. Now, if you decide you want, you're happy with 20% developer's profit, yeah, that just takes us up to £107,000 when you're factoring all these costs. So this is why it's good to look at different strategies. Initially, I thought average cost was 249, but that's not for that particular property. This is tailor-made for a 40 square meter unit. So based on this, I wouldn't offer. I wouldn't be working with 200,000. Your sale price would be more around £189,000, and if you work backwards and do all your work, you would end up with 107,000. So I wouldn't offer more than 107,000. So unfortunately, for a flip, this is not a deal. For a buy-to-let, it would be a deal, but you will be leaving about, how much deposit? About 50 something grand deposit. So that's something to factor in. At the no money down price is 39,000. No one's going to sell it to you for that, but that's what you have to play with. Okay, so let's go to the next property. This one. So this week I just wanted to push the boat out a bit, do 2 properties, and play with a couple of ideas. Here, a couple of things stand out for me on this one. This is just amazing. So you got these 2 buildings, and then this suggests that there's a portion that isn't part of the freehold. So odd. So it might be that this was done on purpose to prevent anyone from, doing some like back garden development, and this is another way of having a restrictive covenant. Then you have a substation here, but this is London. I think you can live on the power lines and still find people to buy or people to rent. So that wouldn't be too much of an issue. But let's look at the information, the description. So freehold 2 building arranged as 4 self-contained flats, garden vacant, sold by a Newland Housing Trust. Okay, so it's a housing trust selling it. Okay, I know some people say you should always call to find out if a seller is a desperate seller or motivated. You could try with the housing trust, but good luck with trying to get them to reduce the price because they're desperate or they want to sell beforehand. But things can happen. You're dealing with human beings. Okay, so catalog entry. This one's actually quite a good one because I suspect it's empty, it's vacant, and if it is vacant, you should be able to get valuers to go out and look at view the property, and you should be able to raise finance, albeit you probably need to put down quite a huge amount of deposit. But it seems it's near Shadwell. So postcode is E100BL. Let's look at the catalogue. 1.1 million plus. Okay, it's 4 flats. Flat 1, flat 2. They're all 2 beds. Nice. Let's see if there's any APC on application. I like. Let's look at the legal documents. Okay, Okay, so always read the legal pack. Get a solicitor to read it as well. Let's see what is on here. Okay, so special conditions. Okay, when do we have to complete by? What other costs are there? These are some of the things you need to look out for here. Okay, just scrolling quickly. Right, so number 13. The seller's legal fees being 0.35% of the sale price. Right, so if you're buying at $1 million, 0.35% of that is legal fees. Ouch. And then you have to reimburse the search fees and disbursements, and the auctioneer's fees are 1.5%. So you can see your purchase costs are quite high, transaction costs are very high, and then completion is 28 working days after the date of auction. Okay, 28 working days. It's not bad. Okay. So that's almost 6 weeks. Wow. I suppose the current situation makes things a bit difficult. Interest shall accrue on outstanding monies at the rate of 15%. Ouch. That's huge. If you've purchased it for $1 million and you miss completion by a month, so that's, I just need to do this one because the figure is so high. So 1 million times 15%. This is above the base lending rate of National West Bank. Okay, so NatWest, we don't know what NatWest's base rate is. Let's assume 1%. So that would be 16%. So 1,100,000 times 0.16 divided by 12. So you've got 14 grand every month if you miss your completion date, and this happens a lot. You'd be amazed at how many people miss that 28-day window. It's not the end of the world. They'll serve you notice. You have to pay. There'll be a fee. There'll be a charge. But let's see if there's any profit to be made on this one. So let's go to Valap. Have a look. So nothing else jumped out at me in the special conditions. What's this? Is this the... see if this is the EPC, just to try and get an idea as to okay, this is an asbestos check again. This is something else to look out for, maybe because of the age of the building. I think these guys, this housing trust has done quite a good job of 2016 of putting paperwork together. Can we find the EPC? Where's the EPC? What's that? Oh, electrical. Right. So these are different checks you can do quickly before you go out to view a property. It says EPC is available on application. What's this one? Ah, there you go. 62 square meters. Fine. All right. It's a fairly standard size for a 2-bed. Okay, so 62 square meters. We'll go on that. So we go to Valap. Oh, what is the postcode? Not that one. E10BL. Okay, let's add a new appraisal. E10BL. Okay. 204 to 206. 204. Okay, so again, finding the agent. 1 is that in zeros? Yeah. Property type is a house. Status is auction. Right, so we're ready to go. So on this one, initially, I would say my strategy for this would not be as a buy-to-let. It would be to purchase, do up, and sell. That's what I feel. Just from a high level and quickly looking at it quickly. That's what I think would work for this space, because I don't know what the rentals are in this area. for said property, but this looks like a really nice area. The building's traditional. It's the other thing to look out to notice is that I believe it's a listed building. It's grade 2 listed, so that's something to think about if you're going to do any works, because there's certain things you cannot change. For instance, you cannot change these windows. I don't think they'll let you change these windows. It's very unlikely. If they let you change it, they'll probably have to replace it with a similar looking one or the exact type. But I think they'll probably prefer you cleaned it up and restored it. Internally, there might be features that they wouldn't want to lose. So, and bits of the internals. You can negotiate with these people, with the conservation officers, but just bear in mind that this adds to your costs, and it is a listed building. Like some of these things that have been covered up, yeah, I'd open that up. That looks lovely. That can look really lovely if you come to sell. So 1.1 million. Let's do this. So I'll go for a conversion again. So there's 64 times 4 is what? 256. Just quickly, let's do a quick one. We'll start to clean this all up when we get to the scheme. Okay. Oh, not great. Okay. Let's see why it doesn't think. Right. Okay. So yeah, it's worked out 4 units. Let's go to that. So it thinks I should be offering 525,000 for this property. Right. Let's see why. So build cost of 1,340. Okay, so for starters, let's change this, because when this tool works things out for you, it tries to create a scheme using best practice. So it removes 15% for communal areas and builds different types of templates using the information you provided. So 64 square meters, 4 units at 1,000, that's 171,000 to do works for 2 flats. Okay, if we change this to, could easily cost you that much, but say 64,000 per flat. Okay. Sale price. Let's see what this is suggesting. Sold prices 410,000. 800,000. For sale. The range is quite wide. I'd imagine this 812,000 one is for a property that's extremely 812,000 is probably for a new build. Be interesting to find out what that one is, but if we choose that, let's go on and let's save that. We'll do the same for this one as well. Let's go there. Right, we're getting closer now. Ooh, I think let's save that. Let's go to, reckons it'll take 7 months, which is not bad. Let's go to sold prices in the area. Right. Aubrey Court. It's not far. Okay. So Aubrey Court. If we Google this one to see what it looks like, it's what we're comparing against. Let's see if it's showing on. What was it? It was one flat 21. What's this one? Oh, no images. Oh, it's a shame. But it was December. Okay. Where are your images? Okay. Let's see what Zoopla has. If it has any images. Yeah. Just necessary. Accept. The 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Okay, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1 reception. So if we could see the floor plan for the one we're looking at, it would be helpful. Let's see, street check. Street check. What's crime in the area look like? 419 crimes. Tower Hamlets. Okay, so the reason I'm looking at the crime statistics is essentially if someone's going to pay you 500 grand, 600 grand, what are they expecting in return? Should they be getting a crime-ridden area or a nice area? I'd suggest that this is quite nice. Let's do a street view of the property area. Street view. E10BL. That's the one. Right. Oh. Okay. No, this is not Cable Street, is it? The fun thing about London is between one street and another, you could be talking hundreds or thousands in difference. And this area is near the really nice area. But yeah, I think this one warrants a discussion with local estate agents to see how much this road will command. I mean, look at building construction in the background. It's not too. It's probably it's near Docklands. Got this flyover and stuff. So, so definitely go and see it. I would say perhaps the 800 grand might be for one of the newer buildings. But it gives you an idea as to what might be possible, what's attainable. What's that? Looks nice and new. It's right next to a block of flats, so you want to find out if that would affect the price. You want to find out if that side of this flyover is better than the side we're looking at. All these things do matter to people who purchase these things, but I can't find the actual building itself. Okay, so without keeping us too long, let's see. So it's a combination of different types of buildings. Okay, I think I'm getting closer. Right, so this is a different part, you know, this is a different feel. Okay. So voila. Okay. So you want to visit different times of the day. Okay. There might be, you know, you want to have a look at what the demographics are in this area. But I think it's one of these or two of these. I think it's not bad. It's not bad. If done up quite nicely, got a nice decent garden, you might be able to go up to 700,000 perhaps. So let's go back and review our scheme. Okay, if we increased that to, just see if we put it up to about 650 or 660. Do that. Now it's coming up. Okay, so this is me engineering the figures. Now, obviously, you need to find the agent to make sure that it is achievable. So if you're able to get 650, 660, whatever in this area, then you can potentially go up to 1.2 million. If you can get 650 per flat, it's within the range, so it's not out of this world. We've got 4 flats. That place looks like you could do a bit more than 4 flats, but yeah, it is what it is. So there's a building. Got 3 floors. So how have they got 4 flats only? Okay, so this is one that's worth going to see as well. So 4 flats in one building. Yeah, so it's a substantial pair of period properties comprising 4 self-contained 2-bedroom flats, ranged over 4 floors. The south side of Cable Street. I think they've put in this south side just to inform anyone that knows of the area that it's not at the other end where we looked at to begin with. Okay, so this I think this one's worth going to see. Okay, lower ground, first floor, second floor. So the description is a bit confusing. Potentially slightly misleading, because the address says 204 to 206, which suggests 2 houses. But if you look at this, it doesn't look like it will be just 2 flats in each building. Yeah, because even in the auction, if you go back to the summary page, the very next property, 210, from the same vendor, 725. So does that mean there are 8 flats? Interesting question. Okay, so that's something that's worth finding out. It clearly says 4 flats, unless there are 2 in each building. So they're not selling. Okay, so we need to read the documents properly. See what exactly is being sold. You've got 206. There's nothing here for 204. So that suggests to me there's only one building that they're selling. There might be a mistake in that, in this description. So these are things that you need to find out for yourself before you bid. Get a solicitor to read the legal pack and advise you on what you should do, and then tell the solicitor what you're intending to do. If you think you're bidding on 2 buildings, but you end up bidding on one because you haven't checked the legal pack, or you haven't spoken to the relevant people, and you haven't done the viewings, then it's actually all on you. But just to look at a breakdown of the figures before we finish on this one. Okay, so we found a way to make it 1.2 million based on achieving 650 grand per flat. Now, if there are 4 in one building, I don't think each one would go for 650. I mean, only one will probably get the garden, that one will probably go for more, and then the other 3 will go for slightly less. You need to look at the structure. Is it possible to do any extensions? Being grade 2, what does that mean for you? So we've budgeted about 64,000 for each flat. I think that's fairly generous. We don't know what the state of the property is. So factoring those in, with the sale price 650, build cost of £1,000 per square meter for each flat, 128 grand, you are looking at a GDV of 2.6 million, build duration of 7 months, total duration of 7 months. It suggests that you'll be doing works for 4 months and then 3 months to sell. In this current market with COVID-19, probably by that point things would have eased a bit, so you should be okay. There shouldn't be any sale. Contingency of 5%. I'll probably make this a contingency of 10%, but that's up to you. Total build cost 256,000 for all the flats. It might cost you more, it might cost you less. Depends on the standard you're building it to and the type of clientele you're targeting. The local agent will tell you what the best thing to do is. But in terms of deciding if you want to go for this auction, the figures you are looking to be finding out more on would be if you can achieve a 650 for a 2-bed flat in that part of that street, and then how much work you should be doing in the flat to get it to that level. Now, if all of these figures check out, guess what? You have yourself a tidy profit of £790,000. That's very, 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 very good, because we're working on 30% of the GDV. Now, if we decide we want to do just 20% of GDV, then you can go up to 1.5 million, and you have developers profit of £500,000, which isn't bad to be honest. And then you can offer 1.5 million after you've deducted these costs for purchase. Now remember, the legal fees and the fees of the seller that you'd have to cover, everything is in there. And good luck with the auction. Let me know if there's anything you think I've missed that could help other people watching this video. I do appreciate all your feedback, and I would love us all to learn together. Let's use these tools to help us, save us energy, save us time, and protect us from common mistakes that people make. So until next time, take care.